Welcome to the BaseballSwing.com. Joe Colucci here with you, taking a look at Ronald Acuna Jr. So Acuna does a lot of great things. Obviously, really a great player. So I want to kind of go over some of the things he does, and hopefully this can help your game out. So from the front view here, a pitcher's view, if you will, Acuna doesn't turn a lot with the shoulders, or really very much at all. Instead, he gets his coil, and he is coiling, with a lateral movement. And if you kind of focus in on his jersey here, you can see the stretch starting to happen as the pitch comes in. Yet his hands aren't disappearing behind his head. Numbers aren't really turning back to the camera at all. But he is getting a good stretch. I'd even offer to you some of the reason you're seeing a little more of the numbers, say, at toe touch than you are kind of at load is because the camera's panning backwards. Anyway, Acuna drops the bat and gets into impact. And another great thing he does, shoulder plane, bat angle, all in line, as you can see here. And then when he turns through impact, does a great job of really just turning to get there, and his bat is still on plane. So great job by Acuna Jr. there. As we kind of jump over, and we're going to take a look at the side view here. Drew a little line on Acuna's shoulders. So not a lot of shoulder tilt, very level, fairly wide base, looks nice and relaxed. Arms hanging really kind of lightly, bat straight up in the air. That shoulder angle he's got now, the left shoulder being down just a hair, is really reflective of his left hand being lower than his right. But what's really neat about what he does, and a lot of good players do this actually, is he gets kind of moving forward into toe touch. That angle, being his shoulder plane, has not changed at all. So if I just kind of move this line down in here, you can see it's really the same. If you're going to build a swing and you aren't really into the scap load or getting your hands working back behind you, you should be looking for this levelness in shoulders, or at least maintaining the same angle throughout. It's real important, and he does as good a job as anybody with it. Something else I want to kind of touch on is the way he kind of walks away from his hands, and there's really no better term for it than that. This is a true kind of old school move. So when we get into kind of his top of his load, let's call it, he's nice and relaxed in the arms. You can see his lead arm is kind of, bent. Nothing going on here other than a little bit of a weight transfer. And as opposed to guys that really kind of coil around the right hip and turn a lot as a load, Acuna, again, is going to handle this laterally. So as he strides forward, he's simply going to gain ground towards the pitcher. Basically went from the center line here and moved probably a good solid foot, his whole body mass, gaining momentum and power going into the pitcher. Yet he has left his hands behind. So some guys push their hands back and they do different things. Acuna truly is just walking away from them. He's leaving them there. Pretty much the same height, and certainly back towards the catcher. He just leaves them there, which is awesome. Now, at this point, Acuna has built up that stretch we talked about earlier, really kind of more on his left side. And he's really primed to just let the bat drop and kind of fall into the zone. So as we move forward, he does just that. He's dropping the bat. You notice the right arm coming in close to his side. Point of interest here, back a few frames. Acuna is like fully armbarred. Okay? So, again, a lot of negative talk there out in the world about, in hitting instruction world, about arm bars being bad. They're not bad, okay? So many great players over the years have had a substantial arm bar like you see here and have been very successful. It's just important to understand, hey, if I'm getting into this position, I have the flexibility to do this. Well, what should my swing feel like, look like, and what position should I hit based on this arm bar? Well, Acuna does it as good as anybody. Again, right elbow just kind of falls to the hip as he's rotating. So simultaneously, he's rotating and the right elbow falls to the hip. Bat barrel's dropping down onto plane. And as he continues on and moves towards impact, and I'm going to suspect this is probably where he wanted to make impact, might be a tick early here. Acuna still has some bend in that right arm. Left bicep is kind of up against the chest, which is pretty good. So he's in what I would call a very connected position. He's doing a lot of other things well, too. He's up on his back toe and etc. Straightening up in the front side. But the important takeaway for me here is if this is impact position 1 and this is where he's doing his tee work, and I'm sure it is, he's just smashing balls, right? So he's a little bit early. Now he can just straighten out that right arm and get into impact while it's not totally straight yet. And he just hits a ball to the pull side with power. And that's a byproduct of this right elbow falling to the hip and just kind of trying to keep it there. It's right along the right side. He's just going to turn, 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 turn. Eventually, hands and arms start working away from your body. And he does it in a kind of a late fashion. And the fact that his barrel is staying square here, because his ideal position may be in this area here, he's still got some bend in his right arm. So that's desirable. So anyway, he gets back out in here and obviously hits a bomb. Really level through the ball. Kind of draw a couple lines in that vein. And Acuna does a great job of swinging at an angle, on an upwards tilt, but it's kind of in line with, the pitch. It's not really one of those 10, 12, 15 degree upswings. So as I like to do, I drew a couple lines. This red line represents the pitch. Looks like it was a fastball descending at 5 degrees. And I mirrored that line here down the green one. And we want to see the bat in between those lines as long as possible. So he's on plane here. He can get a hit to the right side. He's working fairly levelly, a little bit up, in line with the 5-degree descension of the pitch. Again, as I mentioned, I think this was probably where he wanted to make impact. He was a tick early. But because he's not working up at 15 degrees, he's able to make contact here as his bat is still between those lines. And I believe this was a home run, actually. So you see a little higher launch, and that's just a byproduct, again, catching the ball out in front of him a little more. That flexibility and adjustability happens way back at the start because he gets this great arm bar, and that right arm just falls to his hip and doesn't move forward towards the pitcher. From here, he just rotates, and really it's the rotation that's squaring the bat. Now, again, he's kind of on plane here, rotates into the ball, and there you go. Hope that helps. Hope you learned a little something today. Once again, Joe Colucci with thebaseballswing.com. Just a quick reference, if you head over to the website, I am offering a limited time deal on lessons wherein you can get one for $1. Send me your video, upload it at my site, and I will critique it, send a video back to you, and then jump on the phone with you to kind of go over things. Should it make sense, we work together moving forward. I'll go over some options about lesson plans. All right. Please feel free to comment. Please like and subscribe. Again, a pleasure being with you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.